The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September the 26th, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined this morning by Izubee Charles and Matt Shodell as we discuss the news of the day, presented today by GameTime.co, your headquarters for all your ticket needs, whether they be Miami Hurricanes, NFL, you got the NBA and NHL coming up soon, concerts, theater, whatever you need a ticket for, GameTime.co has you covered. And of course, also by Caneswear, your ultimate authority for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. Go buy Caneswear on your way to Hard Rock Stadium on Friday night. Get yourself your Cam Ward jersey while you can. Not going to last for long, folks. Everyone's going to want a Cam Ward jersey here if they don't have one yet, as well as all your other Hurricane merchandise needs. And we'll talk more about Game Time and Caneswear later in the show. But guys, I wanted to start off today by a neat story that we have on the website. Izubee, you happen to do it, but and it's really good, and I want to make sure everybody knows about it and sees it. The other day, in fact, let's take this thing back to the beginning, okay? So the other day, Cam Ward is doing his weekly media stuff, and here's what happened.
Your cousin KD relationship. I'm curious to know, have you guys communicated? And if so, what was that conversation like going into this game?
No.
Have you guys talked at all? No? Okay.
Nah, he know. We had this conversation before. Daryl Colbert know too.
Okay, we'll see you on Friday. Thank you.
Daryl Colbert be at the game. If you get him, he'll answer all the questions.
Awkward.
So, what did Izubee do? I'll brag on him a little bit. Izubee says, "Wait, I know Daryl Colbert. I got to get Daryl Colbert on the phone," which he did, and we have what's a really cool story with Daryl Colbert, giving us an update on his perspectives on Cam Ward, where he is at this point of the season, how he believes that Cam Ward is just scratching the surface of what he is going to accomplish this year at Miami. It's only 4 games in, and I mean, he's got 1,439 yards, 14 touchdowns. The talk of college football, without question. And now Izubee, he's going to have his cousin on the other sideline on Friday night, a guy that he didn't even know was his cousin till a few years ago. There'll be a little bit of back and forth smack going on Friday night, but sum it up for us. Colbert clearly is, very pleased with the way Cam Ward has been performing so far this year.
Yeah, Colbert's been working with Cam Ward since his first year of college football, and he's kind of, seen this whole entire process going from the kid with one scholarship offer to, now the Cam Ward that we know today. And he's saying, hey, this is something I've always seen. This is something that people, in their close circle have always seen. But, like we've always talked about, Cam Ward played in the Pac-12, and every game he was playing started at 11:30, and, half of us were asleep by then. So everyone didn't see it. Now he's at Miami. He's on this, huge stage. The world's kind of getting to see it, and Colbert's just happy about that. And, I asked him about the, Cam Ward said, hey, talk to Daryl Colbert about the situation. And he said, when it's game week against, because he trains Shedeur Sanders as well. He trains Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and Kyron Jones. And he said last year when Washington State played Colorado, he tried to put those two guys on the phone, and Cam Ward would simply not answer the phone or hang up if he saw Shedeur Sanders' face. And then Cam Ward goes on to beat Shedeur Sanders 56-14. Over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he's kind of doing the same thing against Kyron Jones, his cousin, which is a funny story in itself as well. He's not answering the phone. He's not talking to Kyron Jones. He's telling Daryl, you know what time it is. Do not try to, make me communicate with him. He said, after the game, we'll be cool. But, right now it's over. We're not friends. So a neat story talking about that. And, I did a story on Cam this summer. And Daryl he said something that kind of got some people's feathers ruffled. He said Cam Ward plays in kind of like the Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams type S style, running around the ball, singing around, making, crazy plays. And a lot of people gave him a lot of, slack and hell on social media, like, oh, this guy's crazy. This kid's from Washington State. He's nowhere near Patrick Mahomes. And then he's like, now I feel like everyone sees what I was talking about. So he had a lot of good things to say about Cam, and he's just excited to, see him kind of getting that recognition he thinks he deserved for a very long time now.
So his cousin's going to be on the other sideline. And I don't know, like, I couldn't really get a read of Izubee. I don't know if you could, about how close they are, or, it sounded like they talk to each other kind of on a regular basis. His name's Kyron Drones, and he's a transfer from Baylor, became the starter at Virginia Tech 3 games into last season, threw for 2,085 yards, 17 touchdowns with just 3 interceptions, also ran the ball 818 yards with 5 touchdowns on the ground. We're not going to say he's Cam Ward, but similar idea. I mean, he's certainly Virginia Tech's version of the same, a quarterback that can hurt you in many different ways. And so far this year, he's hitting on just under 60% of his throws. Mario Cristobal, Izubee says he's as dangerous as it comes in college football nowadays. Is Mario overstating it a little bit because Miami's playing Virginia Tech this week, or have you been that impressed with Drones as you've looked at the Hokies this week?
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with him. Like you mentioned last year, he kind of came on, a few games into the season for them, kind of really took over. I'm actually really, really surprised to see Virginia Tech be 2-2 right now. They returned almost every single person for their team last year. And kind of last year, they started off 1-3. We kind of picked up things toward the tail end of the season. That kind of gave a lot of people high expectations, especially bringing back Kyron Jones, who, like you said, almost 3,000 yards in the air, almost 1,000 on the ground, and he was super efficient, 20 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions. So a lot of people thought this would be a big year for the Hokies, but they're kind of, underwhelming. But, their coaching staff is saying, hey, we're taking this one game at a time. We started off last year slow. We're picking it up a little bit different this year because the expectations were there. But, I think, he's a really good quarterback, and that's still a really decent team. You can't, not be good bringing back that much production. I think they're still kind of trying to figure it out, but I wouldn't be sleeping on them at all. And, kind of going on, their relationship. When Cam first, transferred to Miami, Kyron Drones was actually at the facility training with all 3 of those quarterbacks. So they're really, really tight. They train all throughout the summer together. It's just, when Cam has a game week, he's like, listen, I have no clue who you are. We're not friends. So it might look like he hates him, but I feel like when the game's over, they'll be, back to being, family members or best friends again, I guess.
Matt, before the season, there were some people that were projecting Virginia Tech as a potential contender in the ACC. I know you have expressed in the past that you were relatively impressed with them when you were looking at everybody Miami was playing coming into the season, that they were one of the teams that you felt, could at least mount some kind of a challenge. Maybe it ends up being like what South Florida did last week. I don't know. I mean, for those guys coming into Hard Rock Stadium on a Friday night is not going to be the easiest assignment in the world for sure. The Miami fans are pretty riled up about how this team's been playing. But what are your thoughts on Drones, Virginia Tech, and I guess Friday's game as well?
Well, first of all, scientifically, we're all cousins. Every human being is a cousin. If you look at mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosomes, nobody asked him.
I'm not your damn cousin.
We're all cousins, Gary.
I promise you.
It's a scientific fact. It's just how distant cousins they are, which nobody bothered to ask Cam Ward. But regardless of that, which is a fact, okay, it's also a fact that Virginia Tech is not turned into the sleeper team some thought that the Hokies would be. The Hokies have, to some extent, built from within. Now, obviously they got some key portal guys as well, but this is an older team, a veteran team, which is why a lot of people were predicting them to be pretty good, right? The old theory was teams that have guys in the system for 3, 4, 5 years, and a lot of them are going to be pretty good teams. Teams that are older are going to be pretty good teams. In this day and age, that's not always the case. So, sometimes you think you have one thing, but you don't. Like, they had I don't know if you watch Bridgerton. My wife makes me watch it once in a while. And yes, there's an unfortunate lady in my life. Okay, people out there, whatever. You can make comments or whatever you want. But they held a Bridgerton ball in Detroit, right? So women dress up. They show up for this Bridgerton ball in Detroit. It's supposed to be this amazing event, right? And they expect it to be amazing. And then they get there, and they're being, what's being sold to them is Kit Kats. There's nowhere to sit, and they hire a stripper as the entertainment. Okay. Like, that's Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech right now is a Bridgerton ball in Detroit, because fans of the Hokies they were promised or expected one thing, and so far what they've gotten is something totally different. Now, whether they can show up on Friday night and look like it's a different dance than what they've shown the first 4 games, that's what I'm concerned about, right? Because if they look the same way that they've been dancing these first 4 games, Miami's going to crush them, okay? But the Hokies have a much better, in my opinion, level of talent, level of experience than any team Miami's played so far. And yeah, Miami's won 4 games extremely easily. You can say, oh, but they only were up by whatever it was against USF in the first half. Oh, this and that. They've killed 4 teams. Okay, there was no doubt about them winning into the 3rd quarter or the 4th quarter. Okay, by the middle of the 3rd quarter, in every game, those games were over. When have you been able to say that about Miami in really any game for the last 22 years, right? So now, to me, this is a new test. Okay, this is a new test because I think it's the best team Miami's played so far. Are they a great team? No, Virginia Tech's not a great team. Are they a middle-of-the-road ACC team? I believe they are. Okay, some people out there think they're worse than USF. The odds makers think they're better than USF when you just look at the betting lines and you translate it to home versus away, okay? The other thing that I'll mention, which I talked about on CaneSport Live, I don't want to get long-winded, but if there's a team that's going to cause Miami problems, it's what Virginia Tech has, and I'll just briefly break down what I've seen from them on film, which is Virginia Tech has one of the nation's best pass rushers, okay? The only thing that's going to cause Cam Ward problems, in my opinion, is a bad pocket. He's showing in these 4 games, when he's in the clean pocket, you may as well forget about it. They're scoring 50 points. This is the kind of defense that might be able to get pressure on Cam Ward, and then we'll have to wait and see what happens, okay? And then on the flip side, I feel like, it's a strong power running team with a mobile quarterback who has some throwing ability if he's playing better than he did against Rutgers, okay? He was terrible against Rutgers, one of his worst games of his career. But if he rebounds and has, a decent game, and if he's healthy, he can cause some problems for what I think is Miami's biggest weaknesses, which are run defense, potentially. I know they've been really good against the run, okay? I know they have been, but I still, if you're going to say 4 weeks ago, what are the problems with this Miami team? It's going to be run defense in the secondary. And I feel the secondary hasn't really been proven yet because they haven't been tested enough. And the run defense has been great. But let's watch them watch them stop Virginia Tech also. Like, what's the harm in saying, hey, let's see if they can do it. So again, not great matchups in terms of Virginia Tech's strengths against Miami's potential weakness areas. But I still think Miami wins by double digits. I don't think they cover at 19.5, but I think they win by 10 to 14 fairly comfortably.
All right, so you mentioned their pass rush and their defense, and without question, this will be Miami's greatest challenge so far this year. Virginia Tech's a team. They have 13 sacks so far this year, 25 tackles for loss in 4 games, and they also have one of the nation's top pass rushers, a kid by the name of Antoine Powell Ryland. Had 9.5 sacks last year. Well, this year he's already got 5.5. Okay, and they haven't even been winning. They're 2-2. But he's come back better than he was last year. We asked Mario Cristobal about him this week, and he described him as explosive, twitchy, fast, relentless, a motor that's off the charts. He is getting a lot of attention this week as Miami game plans for Virginia Tech. And I'm going to go out on the limb, and I'm going to say that that's a reason why I think Miami's going to feature the running game a little bit more this week. That Virginia Tech also has a decent secondary. And it makes sense to me that this is the game where Miami busts out that running game and proves that it could be just as proficient moving the ball on the ground as it is through the air. And I'm looking for Damian Martinez to bust out now and have a big game. We've been talking about that in recent days, debating it. It's a kid that averaged 6 yards a carry the last 2 years in college football. Right now he's averaging in the 4s. He's due for a big game. I wouldn't be surprised if it came on Friday night. I'm looking, for Fletcher, Jay Allen, all these guys. Jordan Lyle with that 91-yard run last week. I mean, you think he is commanding a little more playing time. So I'm expecting Miami to lean on their backs a little bit more in this game and try to get the run game going, because they're going to need it at some point down the road. And you know how important it is to Mario Cristobal. And that's what I'm expecting tomorrow night. Matt, any thoughts on that?
Oh, no, I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, Virginia Tech's been terrible against the run. So, but again, this is what I was trying to talk about, right? Miami's strength has not been the run game. Miami's strength has been the passing game. So now they're going to something that they haven't proven they're as good at, and they're going to have to rely on that. I 100% agree with you. I think based on what Virginia Tech has shown on film, it's pretty easy to run on them. But that has not been Miami's forte. Miami's pass protection has been exceptional. The run blocking and the, if you believe in Pro Football Focus grades, that backs that up. The pass protection grades have been outstanding. The run blocking grades, there's only one guy over 70, and that's the center. So, the jury's out, honestly, on if they can create the holes that Damian Martinez needs, because let's face it, a running back is only as good as his offensive line, They have to create holes. And, all these fans out there who are like, how can they have run the ball against stacked fronts the first 4 games? Well, guess what? Virginia Tech also will be stacking the line. That's what they do, okay? And so I don't want to hear any more about, they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run the ball because, Virginia Tech's putting 8 in the box or whatever. Like, they're going to be putting 8 in the box. That's what they do. And they still have been giving up yards. It happens, right? Miami needs to, in my opinion, go with the run early, stick with the run throughout the game, and let their defense do their job against Virginia Tech and grind out the game. This is not, to me, going to be a game where Cam Ward's going to be throwing passes 20-plus, 25-plus yards down the field. Virginia Tech's cornerbacks are excellent. Really good cornerbacks. Probably the best, honestly, cornerback duo Miami's going to see all year. And they have a great pass rusher. So, again, it just screams run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And I think this week, the offensive line for Miami, it's on their backs. You can mention all the running backs Miami has. The offensive line is the group that has to come through. You've got to push Virginia Tech's defensive line backwards, because while they can rush the passer really, really well, they're terrible run blockers. They're terrible pass. They're horrible at stopping the run.
Terrible run. Yes.
So that's this match. And if you believe you're a pick your poison team, like Shannon Dawson said on Monday, then the poison that he's going to be serving is cyanide capsules that are stuffed into each of the offensive linemen's mouth as they're running towards the defensive lineman, because that's the poison they got to go with. I agree with you 100%.
Oh man, that's a great analogy. All right, well, we have multiple stories on the website today, taking a look at Virginia Tech, getting you ready for the team that you're going to see on Friday night. So make sure you check all of that out. There's also a cool story. Steve Wilfong's the guy that covers recruiting for On3, but he has decided that he's going to take some official visits to different schools around the country and do stories. It's a cool little idea. And he took his official visit to Miami this week and wrote a really nice story about Mario Cristobal and his team. So make sure you check that out as well. And there'll be a second story coming up here today, with some recruiting information and stuff. But, check out those official visit stories. Cool feature from Steve over at On3. All right. Speaking of recruiting, we, of course, have our daily fix for you guys that are recruit nicks out there that want every last detail. And we start out with a story breaking down more than 20 recruits expected for Friday night's game against Virginia Tech. And, Izubee, I was kind of amazed that they were able to put together a list as deep as they did with more than 20 guys, because Friday night's the night when everyone's playing high school football. It's terrible when you have a home game on Friday night, typically, because you don't get to have the benefit of recruits visiting your game. But Miami was able to put together a representative list.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when we saw kind of the schedule be released, I think early this summer, whenever it was that they had a Friday night game. And, I think last year they had a Friday night game, correct, against, I don't know what team, but it was a Friday night game. And, recruiting wasn't, that big of a thing. But kind of seeing this list of, some guys that they're bringing out is pretty good. A lot of local guys, you have Miami commits Omari Wallace and Ezekiel Marston in that group. But they are bringing in 2 out-of-state running backs in that 2026 class, and Amari Latimer, who has, family ties to the Miami Hurricanes out of Georgia. And then we have another 4-star Texas running back Rayshon Guillory. I don't know if I'm saying that last name right, but some good guys they're bringing in this weekend, or not this weekend, this Friday, and I'm really excited to kind of see what they're saying, and very surprised that they have a decent amount of guys coming. But hey, you can never doubt Coach Cristobal with recruits and things like that. So good to be talking to those guys, feeling out what they're saying after the Friday night game.
Izubee, one of the things that you do every week is a recap on what all the commits are doing in their high school games, and that's on the website today as well. Give us a little Izubee rundown on which Miami commits seem to be having the best senior years so far.
Yeah, so right now I think I'll start with the offense side of the ball. The guy that I've been the most impressed with is Dalen Upshaw, out of Central in Phoenix City, Alabama. He's a guy that I feel like every time I'm checking out his stats, watching his film from the last week, you see 2, 3, 4 multiple touchdown games, and I think 5 games into his senior year, he's up to 10 touchdowns, about 30 receptions, and just under 500 yards. He's been a guy that every single week that I'm just getting more and more impressed by. And some other colleges around the country, Auburn's kind of been nipping at him right now. Got him on campus 2 times this year, but I think Miami can eventually hold them off in that class. And on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going with a local guy that they flipped from Maryland earlier this summer, Dante Simpson. He played his best game last week, had 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and I believe like 8 tackles against Miami and Orland. He's a guy that camped at Miami this summer, got the offer, and flipped, I think, less than a week later. And those are the type of prospects that you need, local guys that are producing at a high level, and you're seeing that now his senior year. Some other guys that I've been impressed with. Had the chance to watch Gavin Nix and Hilton Stubbs last week at IMG Academy. The Ascenders blew out, Mandarin, but Drake Stubbs looked great in that game. He's a safety that was kind of playing center field, and when he needed to get to the line of scrimmage, he was flying to the ball. We had people commenting, on the Instagram and TikTok that Gavin Nix looked college ready right now. And, watching him play, I saw that too. So these Miami commits are doing, their thing this year. Really impressed with all those guys. And another guy I can't, leave off the list, Malachi Tony, man. I said even before he reclassified, I thought he was, if not the best wide receiver in South Florida, regardless of the class. Now he's in that 2025 class, and he's continuing to do great things this year. So excited to see how the second part of this, high school football season goes.
All right, it's a couple more stories we'll talk about, but first, let's take a minute here and hear from our friends at CaneSport.
Welcome to CaneSport. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
And you've heard me talking about it all year. I mean, it doesn't matter what you need, whether it's, Cam Ward jersey, T-shirts, hats, polos, hoodies, flags, decals, magnets, any kind of Canes item that you could possibly want, you could find at CaneSport, which is at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, about 15 minutes north of Hard Rock Stadium. If you can't get to the store, you could shop them at caneswear.com any minute of any day. And they got sizes for men, women, kids, babies. You got a dog, like they'll dress up your dog. Izubee, you have a dog, like, right? You have a dog, right? Yeah, I mean, they will dress up your dog. I mean, if you go to CaneSport, they will have something for him as well, or her, I guess I should say. So get on over to CaneSport, get yourself stocked up in Canes gear. Show everybody what a big fan you are. Again, the address, 2655 South University Drive in Davie. It's right next to La Spada Sub Shop. So, like, let's say you're going to the game on Friday night and you want food and gear all at the same time. You can hit it all in one stop, then hightail it 15 minutes south down University Drive. You'll run right into the parking lots at Hard Rock. And like I said, if you can't get to the store, shop them at CaneSport.com, and you will not be sorry. They got a little bit of everything for everybody. Now, okay, so we got some, obviously home game Friday night. Most of you guys have your tickets, no doubt, your season ticket holders, whatever. But there's some road games coming up that are going to be pretty good. You got a road game at Cal coming up. You got a road game at Louisville coming up, a road game at Georgia Tech coming up. Even at the end of the year at Syracuse, coming up. So there's some decent road games ahead on the schedule. and you might want to find yourself some good tickets. Well, that's where GameTime.co comes in. Whenever I need tickets for an event, GameTime.co is the place I go. And the thing that I have really grown to like at GameTime is their Game Time Picks feature, where they filter out all the fluff, man. They cut right to the chase. They show you the most incredible deals on the best seats, and you don't have to sit there and go through thousands of listings trying to figure out what you should do, where you should sit, where's the best value. GameTime.co and the GameTime app makes it seamless for you. They have last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Even an hour after it starts, you could go to Game Time. You know, you say you want to walk, you know, you're running late, you want to walk in the second quarter or something, you go to Game Time, you won't pay as much, I don't think, as somebody who, you know, obviously bought their tickets before the game, but there'll be some seats left there for you that Game Time will hook you up with. They have a lowest price guarantee, or they'll credit you 110% of the difference. And the other thing that I really, really love is, and not all ticket sites have this, you can click a little button, toggle a little button, and you can get all in pricing. And, you know, anybody that buys tickets, I mean, we know what a nightmare the fees have become. I mean, it's really a joke. You know, I'm waiting for the government to intercede on this, because it's like you sometimes end up paying more in fees than the price of the ticket to some events. I mean, it's a total joke. It is an absolute complete joke. But the worst thing is, when you don't know what your fees are, okay, and you're buying a seat for, say, $100, and then you go to check out and you got to pay $225, okay? Well, Game Time removes all that. They don't remove the fees because they can't control all that, but you do see exactly what you're going to pay. And I think that's one of their, you know, coolest features as well. And then they got some other little things to help you out. You know, if an event is canceled, they make sure you get refunded within 24 hours. Let's say you lose your job after you buy your tickets. They have job loss assurance to where they will give you a refund for your seats and put the money back in your pocket. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3 when you make your first purchase. They will give you $20 off your first purchase at GameTime.co and with the Game Time app. So buy your tickets in seconds with a couple taps. Download Game Time today for your last-minute tickets, your lowest prices, everything guaranteed. GameTime.co. All right, guys, let's get back to business here and talk a little bit about another story that we have on the website. Who could be next to commit to Miami? And Stephen Wagner made these predictions that who could be next to commit to Miami. And Izubee, he isolated three guys. Four-star linebacker Kellen Wiley is one, and a name that we keep hearing a lot and reporting on a lot. A wide receiver who is committed to Florida, but he's from South Florida, and Miami is trying really hard to flip him, and the Gators are horrendous, and you know, you just never know what's going to happen. That's a four-star wide receiver, Joshua Moore. And then there's another receiver, and Miami, you know, Miami needs receivers in this year's class. They are trying to shoot for the moon here and get the best guys. And one of those guys is four-star wide receiver Tyler Williams. He's a Georgia commit at the moment. Izubee, Stephen threw those three out. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Stephen did a great job with those three guys. Those are probably, you know, the three guys I would, you know, have added to the list as well if I made that list too. So I'm going to start off with Kellen Wiley. Like you mentioned, a guy that's kind of blowing up this fall, teammate of Gerard Pringle at Armwood High School. We had the first chance to see him, you know, down in South Florida when they played Miami and Orland. At the end of the game, everybody was asking, hey, who's this number 6 guy? Who is this guy? And then, you know, a few days later, Miami offers him, gets him down to campus for his first visit, and then gets him down again for a game day visit. Has an official visit in the works. So I really do think things are going well in that recruitment. When they first offered him, he was an unranked guy, had 0 stars. Now he's a 4-star guy, the number 112 overall prospect in the country. So super, super fast riser. And I absolutely love his game, and I think he would be, you know, a great addition to that 2025 class. And I'll keep it short with the 2 wide receivers. Simply to put it, Miami needs a big outside receiver. Right now they have 2 kind of slot guys, and Dylan Upshaw and Malachi Tony, who I think are excellent wide receivers. But, hey, you need that big outside receiver that's going to, you know, be a red zone threat for, you know, Joshua Moore is 6'4", super, super athletic guy. He's made it, you know, clear. He said, hey, if Miami outdoes Florida this year, things are going to get interesting. Miami's doing that, so we're going to see if Miami continues to apply that pressure down the stretch and makes a real run at Joshua Moore. And then Tyler Williams took an official visit to Miami over the summer. I thought he was going to end up a Miami Hurricane, but Georgia got that last OV. He committed shortly after. Kevin Beard and that staff have continued to recruit him, and he's looking to come back down to Miami. He will be at Hard Rock Stadium October 26th for the Florida State game. So a lot of interest still there, and Miami's still pushing. He's another teammate of Gerard Pringle. So Miami's recruiting a lot at that Armwood High School and a lot of local guys, but those three guys are definitely guys I'm going to be watching and having a close eye out in the next few months as we get closer to signing day.
All right, and we also have a story today on a 4-star cornerback commit. I mean, he's a Florida quarterback commit who's going to visit Miami for the Miami-Florida State game, and that is 2026 Tampa Armwood star Jalen Waters. So start getting familiar with Jalen Waters. He'll be in town for Miami FSU. And last but not least, at 8 o'clock every Wednesday night, Izubee morphs into a character that we now know as IC. Okay, and we have the Lamar Thomas show, and Lamar's kind of taken Izubee under his wing a little bit, gave him the new nickname IC, which is kind of cool. We could call Matt Shodell MS. That's got a decent ring to it. But no. So if you missed last night's Lamar Thomas show, you can find that on the website this morning as well. We've got the CaneSport rewind of that for you today as well. So that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank everybody for starting out your day with us. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please head on over to our website. Your subscriptions allow us to do all this stuff that you see every single day, and we do our best to enhance your fan experience. If you're on YouTube right now, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps increase our audience. It registers with the algorithms over there at YouTube and allows us to kind of spread the wings of Good Morning CaneSport out to the universe, Canes and beyond. So for Matt Shodell and Izubee Charles, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks so much for joining us again, and we will see everybody next time.